Hello ladies and gents, another video brought to you by Outworld, and today I'll be talking about my Solenopsis and why they're not for your average keeper. And don't get me wrong, I do generally love these ladies and I'm keeping them. I'm glad I'm keeping them, but I just need to keep pumping out there. These are not for your average keeper, guys. These are not for your inexperienced keepers. These are some serious ants. Now, my last video on these guys was called Say No to Solenopsis. Yet again, I'm kind of drumming home that why these things are just not for your average keeper. But anyway, so I'll put a link in the top right corner for that now, and you guys can check it out. Now, in that one, I moved them into this setup. So they've got that super huge Rakushi Outworld there, as you can see. There's the original MS 3.3 nest, which I've still got attached, and I'll tell you why that's still attached in a bit. And there's the new 5.5 MS 5.5 nest, which they're currently in now. Now, as little as 4 weeks ago, they occupied just the MS 3.5, which is this nest here. As you can see, they are getting fairly full and they've got quite a substantial amount of brood. Well, I rightly predicted there that I desperately needed the MS 5.5 because look at the amount of brood that I've got and the amount of space I had available. Once that brood hatches, the queen's likely to produce the same amount of brood again as they hatch, so they're going to need a nest really quickly. So I connected the MS 5.5, which you guys know how that went because it's in my last video, and like I said, I put a link on it before. Just rewind and check it out if you haven't done it already. So 4 weeks later, where are they at now? I'm about to show you. So this is them today. As you can clearly see, I've still got a massive amount of brood. Now, I believe the turnover, I don't know for sure, but I think it's around 28 days for the average egg to adult. So if you can think about this, in 28 days time, roughly 4 weeks, I'm going to struggle again. Now, I am fully aware it doesn't look like it here, but actually I've got even more brood than I had in that first photo. But you're not going to massively appreciate that until I bang the macro lens onto it. And you all know how I love macro shots. I love getting nice and close into these ants. Well, all ants, but these particularly, just because they're so goddamn interesting. So I'm actually starting from the bottom left of the nest. As you can see here, they're already attacking a gypsum. But I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. And there's some fresh eggs there, which is cool. So I imagine the queen's in here. And I don't actually see the queen when I'm filming today, but obviously she's there because they're fresh eggs. Now, if you look at how high the brood have mounted up, they are mounted very high and they're occupying just about every chamber on the left-hand side of this 5.5 nest, which one side of this nest is equivalent to the same size as a 3.5, so the 5.5 is double. But as you can clearly see here, I have got tons of brood everywhere again. And like I said, it's the reproduction rate of these. The queen in a good day can lay up to 10,000 eggs a day. So that's the kind of turnaround you get. Yes, there's a super major there. She is huge compared to the workers anyway. Damn, I've lost my train of thought. Where was I? Yes, 10,000 eggs a day she can produce. So at the moment she's not, I don't think she's quite achieving that, but you can see how they're constantly attacking the gypsum now, which is a point of concern for me, definitely. Well, I say a point of concern, but it isn't really. It's more a point of concern with Rakushi. Do you remember back in a couple of videos ago, would be when I first moved into the MS nest, JB said it wouldn't be possible because they'll chew the way out, and Rakushi was like, nah, they'll be fine. They'll chew through the gypsum, but not the 3D printing. I'll talk about it more in a bit anyway. So this is the second half of the nest, and you can see I've got piles of brood forming here as well, which is yet an indication that they're spreading out. There's another super major, huge. So why am I getting concerned again? Because yet again, like I said, the brood doesn't take long to develop into full adults. And when they fully develop the brood I've got there now, and the queen, let's just say minimum, produces the same amount of eggs again, which I think she will, I reckon I've got approximately 2 to 3 weeks before I need to look at moving them off again. And this is what I'm talking about, the gypsum. They've carved it down now, so now I've got access to the 3D printing stuff itself, but I've got another video of that in a second. So as you can see here, there is another pile of brood, so I really need to think about getting a new nest. So even though they've got plenty of space, they've still attacked the gypsum, as you can see here. They've excavated, if I can get my words out, enough for them to freely stand between the glass and the gypsum now. And as you can see here, just there, they're actually starting to try and bite the 3D printed stuff. If they can't get a grip, they totally won't be able to mine into it. But it's something I need to keep an eye on, because if they get through that 3D printed plastic, or yeah, it is plastic to be fair, then I'm going to be in a world of pain, literally, because these things sting. So it's something I've got to keep an eye on. At the moment, I'm not too concerned. I'm going to take Rakushi for his word, and that they won't get out of it, but definitely keep an eye on it. And look at that super major there again. Isn't she beautiful? And what's also interesting, when they were smaller in size, when I disturbed the nest, such as taking the cover off it, they'd go a bit crazy before settling down. But now they're at a significant size. I have not got an idea of numbers. I'm going to make an estimate and say at least 3,000-4,000. they're a lot more settled when I take the red filter off. As you can see here, they're pretty calm, considering that I'm also banging the table as I do it as well, which is never good because it disturbs them. They don't like vibrations. But these guys, I think they're very confident about themselves now. This is their original 3.5 nest that they were in. They have fully moved out of it, but I'm keeping it attached because the space and because of the rate of growth that these guys got, I think I'll be silly to disconnect it because it's a bit of an overflow, as it were, while I look at getting a new nest. Now, luckily for me, this is the end of the month, so come December, I am going to buy another 5.5 and stack it like I have with my Fedoli. If you've not seen my Fedoli setup, I did my last video on it. I'll put a link in the top right corner now. Now, I have spoken with Kushi previously about doing a double size MS 5.5 for me, but unfortunately I've not spoken about that recently and it's not materialised or not anything he's currently working on. So what I think I'm going to do is stack it up like I said before, like I have with my Fedolis. But you can see here when we do a standoff video the situation I'm in. Yeah, it looks like they've got bags of space, and technically speaking they still do have bags of space, but do not be fooled by these girls. I've learned from my mistake previously, always have a nest on standby, and currently I don't, so I really need to get a new one just in case. But I generally think I've got about 2 to 3 weeks until they, maybe pushing 4, maybe definitely at least 3 weeks until they fill this completely again. So I really need to buy a new nest. So you're probably asking yourself, how is that Outworld doing it? Is it Solenopsis proof? And I can say you get a good barrier. Yes, it is. Now, they are constantly testing the corners, like you can see here, constantly testing it, trying to find weak spots, but at the moment they haven't found one. I have not seen any ants escape out of this Outworld yet. Well, not except for ones I've flicked out myself by mistake, but that's another story. But yes, they're constantly pushing the boundaries with it, but because I've got a decent barrier that I reapply regularly, I haven't got out yet, which is super good news because that would be scary. When Wakushi puts this on the Tinterweb for sale, I think he could probably say it's Solenopsis proof with a good barrier. Like I said, I've not had any escapees yet. Yes, they're testing the barrier constantly, but they have not got out yet. I'm also really pleased with the new lenses as well, because this is taken with a macro lens, but a standoff one, which is about 20 centimeters away from the actual carcass. So and I'm getting really good crisp macro pictures, which is great. Really good quality lenses. I think I plugged them in my last video if you want to check them out towards the end, the one about the noders, but I'll get really good crisp pictures. And if you look here, they're still swarming over this carcass, so there's blatantly still some protein in the back end of it, which they're mining out. Now, what I love about this Outworld, apart from these little platforms, is how big it is, and you can see the natural behaviour. Like, this is a current video real time of them running around the Outworld. Now you can clearly see they've got some form of trails going on, especially ones going up to the food, such as you can see a group of them walking up the main pillar now towards the cockroach. So you can see their patterns, but the way to really see the trails and patterns that they're forming when they run is to do a time lapse, which I also love. Okay, the time lapse is moving a bit too fast, so I'll slow it down a little bit. Now, I know it's difficult to get your eye in at the moment because they're moving so fast, but once you actually do, you can start seeing the lines that they form with the trails and stuff like that. Like, for example, I can see a lot of like hexagon shapes where they're generally not walking over because the foraging patterns go around it. You'll get your eye and you'll see what I'm talking about. If not, maybe I'm a lunatic. Just leave a comment and tell me I'm a lunatic. I can live with that. But it's even more prevalent with the trails once you put fresh food in there, because then it's a strong trail down the tube, down the pillar into the tubing. But because the kill's been there a while and they've started spreading out and foraging for more food, it's not as prevalent as you'd see previously. But it kind of comes in waves, doesn't it, if you notice? From the food area to the trail, it comes in waves, in bursts. Definitely rewind this little bit and watch it again until you get what I'm getting at. Now, I wasn't going to use these pictures, but I thought I'd stick them at the end because they are still really good. Now, look at the detail you can see in the mandibles of this super major here. It is very detailed and very pretty. And her head, I cannot tell you how big it is compared to the other workers. It is huge. Now, I actually sewed this little clutch of, I think it's actually larvae, not eggs now, in the video, but I thought I'd take a still of it, and you can see that this is probably about a couple of days old, so it looks like the eggs are into the larval stage at this point. Now, I only thought these guys had 2 casts, the minors and the majors, but now I've got them and I can get my eye in. There's actually 2 different casts of majors as well, so I think you've got the big bulbous heads, like the one with the mandibles I showed you before as a super major, and you've got the one that's in this video clip here, which is more of a major. Yes, she's still distinctly bigger than the minors, but she's nowhere near as big as the super majors. Now, if you guys want to check out my journey with my Solenopsis, I'll put the link in the top right corner now so you can check out their playlist. Now, I'm sorry I've not done a midweek video this week or last week. I've generally, real life is getting a bit busy at the moment, especially with the time of year, so I apologise for that. But if you guys have got any ideas what video you want to see next from me, by all means leave a comment down below. And as always, I've got to say a big thanks to my Patreons, because yet again this channel would not be where it is now without your support. So I want to say a big super massive thanks to Adam W, Adrian, Antantix, Anton the Rock, Antimatter, David D, Jason W, Kevin R, Paul A, Pavance, PJ Grant and Wakushi. Without your support, I would be stuck. And if you guys want to support my channel, by all means, head over to my Patreon page. There'll be a link down below. Anyway, I've gobbled on for enough now, guys. So I hope to see you in my next video, and bye-bye for now.